Part 2, velocity of money. Economic fear and anticipation of better tax rates are slowing the velocity of money. That's, this is my favorite hobby horse.
Right.
I get on it. And so Kathy's really recognized it this month, and it's slowing the velocity of money, potentially leading to 2 negative GDP quarters, giving the Trump administration and Fed more room to stimulate the economy. The Fed really should have jumped in with 2 feet, and they've elected not to. I think this is going to be one of their bigger mistakes as we recount the year next year.
And can I just take 1 second to talk about this in terms so people can understand? If the consumer stops spending, then that means they're not handing over money to the retailer. If the retailer isn't getting cash, then they're not handing over money to the wholesaler. They're slowing down their terms. If their terms are 30 days, they're paying in 45,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. Then the wholesaler, he's getting less money, so he's paying his manufacturer in 60 days instead of 45 or whatever. Everything slows down and the money doesn't turn over as rapidly. Now, that happens differently in the financial sector and in other sectors, but that's basically what happens all over, is there's just not as much activity, so the velocity of money is not, and all of that, of course, impacts profits, and then that becomes another place where the velocity slows down as well.
Right. And so tariff timeline and retaliation. Trump's 10% tariff on 185 countries starts on April the 5th, with additional tariffs on a third of them on April the 9th. China's 34% retaliatory tariff on U.S. goods begins April 10th. It's going to kill the farmers, by the way, signaling escalation, but also negotiation potential. So, Kathy's looking on the bright side. Rolling recession. And by the way, this tariff timeline is point number 7 or 8, but the point is that it's overhanging everything.
Right.
Rolling recession. Since the Fed raised rates in 2022, a rolling recession has persisted. High-end consumer and government spending propped up GDP, but both are weakening, marking the end of this phase rather than the recession start.
What we also have in this particular case, Larry, is pent-up demand. So the biggest category is durable goods. That's the number one place where we see this pent-up demand. So when at some point, consumers are going to want to go out and buy those durables. When is that most likely? As interest rates come down. So with interest rates dropping, this is where she doesn't ever explain this, but when the interest rates come down, and as people become a little more confident, there should be a big uptick in durables.
Durables come into play mainly when people move houses.
Yep, and they're not moving.
And they're not moving houses. And so when and if the property market picks up, that will definitely impact durables. I think that's what we have to wait for. And I'm not as comfortable as you that that's going to come that soon. I think interest rates are going to have to fall quite dramatically. Mortgage rates are going to have to fall, and then housing prices are going to fall. And so it's not going to be sudden. It's going to be marginal at first, and then it's going to pick up. So I'm not as bullish as either you or Kathy on the recovery.
Let me just really quickly say that you are 100% right that a lot of that expenditure happens when you change homes. But if you stay in the home, eventually things break, and eventually you want the newest, and eventually you want a new kitchen or a new bathroom. And none of that has been happening for 3 years. And so that's the kind of pent-up demand I'm talking about.
Fair. Innovation as a solution. Of course, this is the whole predication of 𝐼RC and its funds. Technologies like robotics, AI, energy storage, blockchain, and multi-omic sequencing maturing over 25 years, are poised to drive a productivity-led recovery as businesses and consumers seek efficiency amid fear akin to the COVID innovation surge. So this is the whole ARC thesis, and this is the key to economic growth in the coming century, just as it was, in 1880 with the second industrial revolution. And then market leadership shift. The Mag 6, presumably major tech firms, won't lead the next bull market despite past dominance. A broader stock participation would signal a healthier market.
Yep. Okay.
Want to add anything to this?
No, I think that she never actually, interestingly, she actually never talked about the jobs report, Larry. But I will say that the jobs report only had one point of interest other than the fact it was flat. The one point of interest was that it was managed to go up nicely, a good solid number, even though government jobs went down. So this was something that I didn't see any headlines on this. I didn't see anybody talking about it. But
well, I did see somebody post that it was quite surprising to see how high it was.
Right.
And so I think that that's a very good indication. But you know what? I kind of I don't place too much credence on it because it was a jobs report of jobs before the jobs hiring that was done before the announcement of the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the cleavage. That's where, the world ends and the new world begins. The old world ends and the new world begins. So we can't really take much joy out of a good report. And so in a way, I think that's why she didn't really focus on it. Don't know if that makes sense to you.
I thought, again, my point would be the numbers were good, even though government jobs went down as opposed to up.
Yeah, but that's
no, I understand. I understand your point.
We've had a real crack in confidence.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
And really, it's these cracks in confidence that lead to these parlous times. All right.
Of course. If you happen to be a big fan of the Cybertruck, you might also be interested in this super fun Cybertruck refrigerator magnet and bottle opener. It is made out of super thick stainless steel, just like the Cybertruck, and it has this giant magnet on the back, so it's going to hold a lot of stuff on your refrigerator. It's an amazing gift, and it comes in that great gift box that you saw before that uses a magnet opener, just almost like an Apple box, like when you get Apple products. You can buy it on Amazon for $29.95, or you can buy it direct from me by sending $25 to paypal.me/Randy Kirk, all in lowercase letters. Please indicate whether you want the stainless steel look, or maybe you'd like to have this very clever camo version. And then if you're not in the US, please add $20 for freight. If you'd like more than one, please check the information below to get pricing, as well as all that information I just told you will be repeated in the information below. So once again, think about joining the channel, getting the up-to-date Tesla news every single day. I think you'll be glad you did.